Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. We made it. It's Monday, May 10th, 2021, and this is the Daily Medicine Transmission. Thank you for joining me. To my subscribers, my consistent audience, welcome back. Thank you for being here. You truly are the lifeblood of this channel and the multiple channels that you're going to find this content, YouTube, BitChute, and Subscribestar. Welcome back, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. You had a weekend that you could take care of yourself. It does appear that the Schumann, here, let's go out of studio mode here. It does appear that the Schumann has finally tapered back off and into its default position, about 10 hertz right now. Jeez, this last week has been so intense, and we are gearing up for a new moon that's happening tomorrow on the 11th, 22 degrees Taurus. We're rounding up for the Sabian symbols. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that, but really we're just going to talk about the daily and kind of coming off of this really intense week, really 2 weeks since the full moon. It was so powerful, and we're still feeling the reverberations of that full moon, even now as we're about to end this lunar cycle. And I do feel like that the end of this cycle is, part of why the energy of the Schumann resonance and all of the incredible expansion and just the upgrading that's been happening, and the healing is starting to taper off as we move into this next cycle. And this next lunar cycle, it's been so intense, and I have found it incredibly distracting and disorienting to stay grounded. I've had to do a lot of work on myself to stay grounded. I've had to really step away from the intensity of my work, just because it does have me stepping out of being in the material realm a lot of times. And many people have reported to me all kinds of different experiences that are signaling that we are ending something and beginning something. And there is a transition period that is happening, and a massive healing that is taking place, big contracts that are fulfilling right now and have been, supported by the Schumann resonance. So I'm going to talk a lot about just this moment today, and then there'll be the astrology coming out for the whole new moon cycle. We'll look at the entire cycle, because we have eclipses, we have Saturn going retrograde, we have Mercury going retrograde in its home sign of Gemini, and it's just going to be a really intense couple of weeks, and everything leading up to this point has been preparing us. So if you've been feeling like you want to get in on some action somewhere, or you feel like you need to be doing something, but your body and your literal energy, right, your energy levels have been pulling you back in and really demanding that you rest and take some time, it's because we need our stamina moving into the future. And the joy of new beginnings is definitely part of what we're going to address today, especially as the Mercury meets the North Node today in Gemini, and representing the pioneering of new lands opening up. And so mentally, we are really able to connect to this pull and this draw to new territory and to pioneer it. But we still are in Taurus time with the sun. We have the new moon in Taurus. It is really still about, on some level, allowing the natural processes to unfold, and knowing that the fertility and the health of the medium of our growth is just as important as the potency and the desire to grow in and of itself. So let's look at the Schumann. Oh, also, I almost forgot. If you're new here, welcome. It's so great to have you. And I remind everybody every time that whenever you interact with content on any of these platforms, it actually does support the channel. So when you comment, when you hit the like button, when you subscribe to the channel, even when you share the content with other people, it actually signals to the AI algorithm on these platforms that this information and this content is worth spreading out to a larger audience. So if you feel like like that would be beneficial, the best thing you can do is interact with the content in some way. And of course, if you are on Subscribestar and you want to support this channel financially, that would be great. I have some goals in terms of equipment that I want to add to this process and raise the production value of these videos. So let's look at some images here. So I'm gonna minimize. So I hope everybody's doing well, taking very good care of themselves. I hope you had a good weekend. It's just gonna keep getting, it's gonna be good, but it's going to be intense. So I want to show you first the Schumann resonance today and yesterday, and then at the beginning of the weekend. And I had been showing this to you guys and tracking it myself over the last week because it just kept spiking higher and higher. As you'll see, it really hit its peak on the 8th, which was Saturday, at 110 hertz. So, go back and listen to some of the, especially Thursday and Friday's transmissions, because I talked a lot about what this modulation process is and what a modulation is in terms of an electrical signal, a radio signal, any kind of signal that is introduced into an existing frequency is a modulation. It's an introduction of information through a new signal and connecting to the actual planet herself as she is, her own electromagnetic field is increasing in frequency and doing it in a very rhythmic pattern is modulated a lot. And many people have been reporting, at least to me, that major shifts have happened in their lives, either internally or externally, making choices, trajectories changing, internal and energetic aspects really shifting and changing. I know for me that there's been many timelines superimposed on each other and experiencing them simultaneously, and knowing that the healing aspect is really a central theme here as we move into this next lunar cycle, and looking for and trusting that we are going to get some sort of signal from the universe. And I want to talk about that more in the new moon astrology report that's going to be coming, because there's some very specific imagery and there's a specific mythology and stories that relate to this new moon Sabian symbol that I think are really pertinent to how to wrap our minds around what's going to be coming and how to best how to most gracefully and very consciously ride this out. But as we'll see, as of yesterday and today, the Schumann has really backed off and has gone back down. And so the heartbeat of the planet was really pumping over the last week and really putting out a very strong electromagnetic field, and has now started to come back down to some resting heart rate. And so you may be feeling this in different ways. And so just pay attention to how you're feeling in your body, how you're feeling in your astral body, how you are feeling in your dream state, what is going on, the synchronicities that are available, and really getting a sense of what is important to us and knowing what we are actually here to do. It's very tempting to get pulled into, as I had said many times, into the drama. And we're going to see in the intuitive message today, it's going to be really important that we keep our sense of humor about some of these things and realize that part of the duality aspect is part of our process right now. The North Node being in Gemini, now coming into the first decan, because the nodes move backwards, to us, move backwards in the orbit. And so we are getting much more simplified when it comes to the Gemini archetype. So let's look at the chart for today as well. So I just wanted to show you that so you get a sense that things are starting to taper, and this is a good time to really allow things to process as well, because it's been an incredible week, and it's been even since, like I said, the full moon, it's been very substantial and very powerful, and has rendered many people just completely inert and having to just stop and let things recalibrate because there was a massive timeline shift. Okay, so here's today's chart. We're looking at the 10th of May. Our moon is exalted in Taurus as per usual. So what are we going to be looking at today? Well, let's see here. We are going to be, there's a couple things that have happened. Number one, you don't see it on this chart, One of the things that I have a financial goal for is to get astrology software that is more inclusive and encompassing. But for now, the asteroid series, right? The goddess series, the goddess of agriculture and and grain, the actual aspect of the feminine that nurtures and provides, right? And gives us the seasonal loop of expansion and creation and then contraction. And this is what nourishes us, gives us the food that we need, and physically and spiritually. So she just moved into Taurus. Okay, so still have a lot of Taurus energy. With the moon, we have Uranus, and we still have the sun here today. Now, Venus and Mercury have now moved into Gemini. So, I mean, clearly the mind is very at home in Gemini. Mercury is very at home in Gemini. And even Venus now moving into Gemini, still in a conjunction with Alcyon, that 0 degrees of Gemini, now starting to move out of the position of the Pleiades star cluster. I think that was a big part of what happened over the last couple of days as well. We had Venus, the goddess of love and sensitivity and attraction, and that which we feel good and what we value, who we value, what we love, who we love, all of these aspects that Venus, as the goddess of love, represents, and our sensitivity. She, was in direct connection to the Pleiades in her home sign. And so I think that we're getting a lot of connection in that way, very direct connection. The Pleiadian star seeds are here to hold that down in terms of the direct connection to each other, to the physical manifestation of love, the energy of the planet herself, and living in harmony with the planet and the natural energies and the relationships around us. Now she's in Gemini, and it's much more about discovery and exploration and working with the communication and ideas. And so she's going to become a lot more social and a lot more curious, I think, very curious and willing to explore, willing to engage new ideas. And with Mercury also here meeting the North Node today, new lands, the joy of new beginnings, we're really going to get a mental perspective on where our soul is being pulled in order to evolve, which, like it or not, it's Gemini. The South Node is in Sagittarius, the alchemy, the unification, right? The collective value systems of beliefs and philosophies that we all operate under. Right? The art of alchemy that is Sagittarius, the big picture kind of ideas, for as much as we want to be there, this is where we've already been. This is what provides the momentum forward. This is our karmic past. And this is why the Orion starseed nature is going to be really important, especially as Mercury starts to move into that position, right? It's going to hit 11 degrees of Gemini, which is the first starseed marking for Orion. So just be mindful that this is going to start coming up, and Venus too is going to be making these connections in the near future as well. So this is all going to be part of the astrology report, talking about what to expect over the coming weeks. But for today, let's look at what the moon is doing. The moon is in a trine to asteroid Vesta today at 9 degrees of Taurus, and so this is happening in the afternoon, these transits. And so Vesta now moving direct is, really conditioning us, that part of ourselves that is going to be offered to service to others, right? The purification. The Hermit card is represented by Virgo, also Saturn and Aquarius. We're going to see the Hermit again today. Okay. This has been a very consistent theme. So for the sake of all of us, I hope that we have been embracing that time away, the introversion, the healing aspect. Virgo is about convalescence and the healing process, because it is mutable earth. It's changeable, it's malleable, it's shiftable. And that is part of what a healing process represents, is that the physical aspect of our bodies, of our energy fields, whatever needs healing is moving and shifting around. There's an actual reorientation and reconstruction. and reconstitution. That is really the 6th house in Virgo. So Vesta being here, training us, supporting that part of ourselves in a trine to the moon, this earth trine today, really giving us, if we are able to really express our unique selves, because that is part of learning about ourselves in that 6th house and Virgo energy, it will, our ability to really find happiness in the darkest of times, to go deep into the under the soil, right? Which is where the, Taurus represents the actual soil, the actual medium of growth. So there is, a real connection here, our ability to really find that happiness, to create that happiness when we are so deeply embedded in this darkness, even though the moon is exalted here. This is very well aspected and supported by Vesta, which is training us to be our unique selves, right? We can only come into full collective harmony when we're each at our best. And sometimes that means expressing the uniqueness of ourselves fully without any, worry about what other people are going to say, what the judgment's going to be, because the hermit is not interacting with society. The hermit is coming into an introverted state and doing this work on the inside. So Mercury then is going to, like I said, conjunct the North Node right here. You see it, the newly open land. So our minds are really going to wrap around all of the potential of where we could go. And along with that, the moon is then going to sextile, right? That 60-degree angle with Mars in Cancer. Now, this is an interesting degree because it's really about keeping our sense of humor. And this comes up in the intuitive message as well. Keeping our sense of humor, using laughter as a deconditioning tool. We develop our self-esteem and our character the most in the Cancerian and 4th house. And so Mars in Cancer has been, especially now moving into the 2nd decan, it's very much the Chariot energy. It's very much about Mars protecting and putting that warrior energy towards protection, right? Because the Cancer archetype is the crab, the hard shell that is protecting. It is the vessel that protects us. It is the womb that protects the growing life. And it's very emotional. Cancer is the lattice work of the familial and intimate emotional bonds. And Mars in this position has been really, if we've allowed it to give us the courage and the ambition really to protect and to heal as well and to find the deep character. And this is, oh man, I can't wait to do this astrology report. What is coming this month is just, and I mean, I talked about this months and months and months ago, when we all thought things were going to happen more in January. It was just like, no, it's not coming until May when the eclipse season ramps back up again. So this investment opportunity with Mars and the moon today is again, watering the flowers, the garden of our mind, cultivating what part of our ego consciousness is going to grow, and putting the energy and the forethought and the sensitivity into that, especially with the moon. We are, getting a good look at this, feeling what has been growing, what we've been cultivating. And if we can take a step back and keep our humor about this, and, Mars can be very confident in this position and almost be a little bit too, Mars is going to clown people with some confidence and with an edge here. And it's important to allow that deconditioning to come in and and allow that to even impact our own selves, right? Not taking ourselves so seriously. I think that's going to, and this can always, this position for Mars is very interesting to me, just because you could really clown some people in a very, you could really hurt some people, I think, emotionally, if you are not able to have some sense of humor about what's happening. And boy, it's just so laid out in the reading. You'll see it when I show it to you. But again, if we can, each in our own way, reconnect to what it is we are growing and cultivating and putting our own energy into, this can really, be invested into where Mars is, and kind of, I don't want to say soften it, but the moon is at home in Cancer. And so there is a sense of understanding here and an intuitive connection to what it means to laugh at ourselves, and to not take things so seriously, because it is a deconditioning step. It takes all of the pomp and seriousness out of situations so that we don't get too full of ourselves. And remember, we don't want to get too full of ourselves, because we want to be able to cultivate an ego consciousness that actually blooms something beautiful and that is sustainable, and not something that will get cut down immediately when somebody pokes at it. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right. And then the moon comes and meets Uranus. So, also too, the fascination with the ego of what we can have outside of us, we're going to have some awakening aha moments. And there certainly will be frustration and emotional agitation when the moon meets Uranus like this, especially because we want things, right? We want things. And Uranus is allows us to see it through time in some ways, this Stargate that Uranus represents, to see what it is we could have, and the consciousness externalizing itself now to be like, oh, this is the potential we could have and we could grow. And so the moon meeting Uranus today, it might be, we could connect to it emotionally and intuitively, but it also may be frustrating if we're not connecting to it directly. And this really fits in to where this new moon is going to be, because we really are going to have to trust that we're going to get the signal when it's time, and really strengthen our faith if we haven't already. So definitely some aha moments, definitely some agitation and frustration with the moon meeting Uranus today as well. And then Mercury is going to then come around, as you'll see here, and come into a sextile with Chiron. Good old Chiron in Aries, okay? And if you remember, this 11 to 12 degrees is where the North Node had been for, quite a while before it moved into the 10 to 11 degree position. So this is about the total liberation from the ghosts of our past, completely liquidating the past, letting it go so we can step into the future. And, Mercury, again, is able to not only meet with the North Node and get a real solid view and idea about the new opportunities. It's now stepping into a position where it's in order to do that, we have to actually let go of all of the things that have been holding us back from that. The liberation from the ghosts of the past. It's not even active anymore. These are aspects that are residual, right? They're not actually in effect right now, but they still impact, just like everybody's, all kinds of stuff can be related to this. People have, they're healing from past lives, their healings from their childhood trauma, collectively, the things that aren't in place anymore, but they're still residual and impacting us as if they still exist. Mercury, this is a real opportunity right here, to heal some wounds and some vulnerability with Chiron that is we're trying to get us, there is a, how do I say this? There is a sense of cosmic order that is displayed in the world outside of us that does actually in some ways bump up against like the human law and order. And there is something. So this goes back again to like the signal, right? Some sort of representation that shows us the cosmic order in the face of what is the human law and order, right? We make rules and laws as humans, right? That's very Capricornian. It's very Sagittarius into Capricorn, for instance. But this, especially in Aries, it is the recognition in some way that there is a cosmic order as well, and that supersedes the rules and laws that humanity makes for ourselves in our institutions and in our lives. And so again, if we can let go of the past, we can really invest, and not even let go of the past, but really just completely liquidate it, right? Release the ghosts of our past that aren't really here. Release the residue that is not really active anymore, but is still like holding on to us. We can invest this into where Chiron is and, let go of some wounding and vulnerability around, just acknowledging that there is a cosmic order to things, okay? And from here, the moon is then going to come into a square to Saturn. This is something we need to pay attention to, okay? Because number one, we are going to have another Uranus-Saturn square soon, because Saturn's going to go retrograde during this lunar cycle, right? And so we're going to get another square between Uranus and Saturn. But this degree of the square here with Taurus and Aquarius, right? These fixed squares. This went back to that first quarter square and the sun squaring Saturn, okay? The same degree, which is about just allowing the natural, just reconnecting to the natural world, to let go of trying to accomplish or do anything. It's really just being in the moment of the substantiation, right? And being kind of innocent about it and playful with the moon in Taurus. But it's squaring Saturn that is absolutely putting us through the ringer in terms of our own human and cosmic evolution, right? The train going through the tunnel, right? The penetration as a result of our human qualities of mental acuity and physical skill and discipline, self-discipline. We can actually evolve a lot faster than normally nature would normally do, because we have the capacity to do so. And this square today, we're going to really feel it, and we're going to feel like we want to live and let live, right? We want to just be in the natural process. And the square here to Saturn is going to be very uncomfortable, because again, we are being squeezed through. And I'm telling you what, when the Saturn retrograde happens, the constriction, we're going to feel the squeeze big time this month with Saturn going retrograde. And so it's starting now with this moon squaring Saturn, right? Do we want to live and let live? And we will, right? The moon is exalted in Taurus, right? This is about just accepting what is, enjoying the natural world, being somewhat innocent about it. Playing, right? There's a lot of playfulness as well with the moon, and just feeling like I just want to let it all go. The square to Saturn, which is just relentless and is the karmic responsibility that we can't get around, is absolutely going to challenge this today, and then is really going to set a tone for a lot of the Saturn aspect, right? Because there's going to be, okay, I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. I want to save it. But what I will say is that where Saturn is going to be a big player in this next month because of going retrograde, and then all of the trines with the Gemini energy, right? Because being in Aquarius, that means that Mercury is going to trine, Venus is going to trine Saturn, and eventually the Sun is going to trine Saturn as well. So there is going to be a lot of, I would say, very strong mental energy, a lot of mastery of the information and communication and the ideas that and the curiosity and exploration that Gemini represents is very much going to be getting a lot of traction with where Saturn is in Aquarius, okay? Which goes back to the Hermit card, right? Saturn in Aquarius represents the wisdom that is at the gate. And Saturn is kind of a gatekeeper in a lot of ways. So the Hermit is taking the initiative to go past the gate and really acquire the wisdom by going within. And this is what we've been doing, and now is coming into a place where we're going to see the fruits of that to a certain extent. Okay, let's look at the reading, because it just blows me away, because I do these readings before I even look at the astrology and go through it for the day. And it's very raw, and very intuitive. I really try not to superimpose anything onto it mentally in terms of the astrological transits until after I do it. So I know that it's, as pure as it can be. So let's look at this reading here. Oops, hold on. There we go. All right, guys. Okay, so here's our reading for today. And as you see, the Hermit is actually our causal factor that is coming into the moment here, and it's facing into the heart of the moment. So we've seen a lot of chronology now, a linear chronology with this card, being in positions of guidance and then being in positions of the future into the present last week. And now it is the causal factor, and we are going into the depths, going past the gate that Saturn is responsible for holding, and we are applying this to the current energy. So I don't have to go too much into what the Hermit represents because it's been coming up so much. But what I will say is you can see that it is, directed now at this present moment. So we do see that all of this introversion, all of this inner work that we've been doing, all of this descending into the darkness of ourselves, into the soil of our growth and utilizing our root system in order to bring in what it is we need for our healing, for our reconstitution, in order to purify ourselves. This is all being directed to this present moment right now. Now, here's the Eon, right? Number 20. So we're getting pretty close to the end of the major arcana with the tarot. Number 20, the Eon. This is the Phoenix rising. Now, when we look at this card, you see that there is Thoth in the background. You see the silhouette of the woman or the girl that has, she's got her finger up to her mouth, kind of this, it's innocent. But also there's a purity here because it is the Phoenix rising from the ashes. You see this kind of gateway as well, as part of this. And this is about redemption. This is about realization. This is Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, whereas the Hermit was just the Saturn in Aquarius aspect, right? The gatekeeper. When you have Jupiter involved, then it expands. So you go into the depths, you experience the depths of the self, the depths of the soul, the dark night of the soul. And then Jupiter allows this realization to expand out. And this is where we have our Phoenix rising. So when it's reversed, as we see here at the heart, I do feel that on some level there will be resistance to this with some people, but also too that this is an internalized individual experience at the heart of it for everybody. So while this represents birth, renewal, transformation, right? The Phoenix rising from the ashes, the burning down of that which is ready to go, and then the release of the new from the ashes. Knowledge of coherences, that is a big Aquarian theme, is cosmic coherence, where we feel the connection, not just know it, not just apply it, right? We feel it, not even understanding it, which is Sagittarius. We feel it. It's something that moves through us when we have Aquarius. It is the energy that connects all life together. And a widened perception when we have this card. And so when it's reversed, the inappropriate, I guess you could say, aspect is when we are wrongly identified with what we think we're coherent with. We're deceiving ourselves. But what I will say is, based on everything here, this feels like some of us are going to resist to a certain extent this flame, this Phoenix rising moment. We don't want it. It's going to be difficult. But also with everything else here that I'm looking at, it does feel like this is an internalized, very personal experience that we are each going to have our birth and renewal transformative process as an individual experience, as an internalized experience, rather than something that is happening outside of us right this moment. Now, maybe it is outside of us at this moment. And it's also being resisted as well. But I do feel like that what we are looking at, especially with the moon in Taurus, it's at the very end of this cycle. It is completely empty and will come into new moon exact tomorrow afternoon. This is much more of a transformative process individually, internally. Right? This phoenix rising. And it has to do with everything that we have been facing over the last week or two, really since the full moon, and definitely since the third quarter square that is now reminiscent with what, let me go back, sorry. With the moon in a square to Saturn today. That is reminiscent of that time of just a week ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, but it was only a week ago. And the sun was in a square to Saturn, and the moon was in a square to the sun as well. And so are we going to accept and embody to a certain extent the natural progression of things and enjoy this part of the process, and the cross purposes, right? Where Saturn is like, that's great, but we also are evolving, and we're evolving things are happening so much faster now. If you have noticed the manifestation time between visualization, for instance, and it becoming manifested in real time, it's speeding up. And with Saturn in this position going retrograde, it is going to constrict, and it may look like it's slowing down, but I think it's just going to squeeze it so that it's like a diamond, right? Getting squeezed under the pressure. And that's what it feels like when Saturn's going to go retrograde. So in the heart of the moment, though, we're getting this Phoenix rising moment. So some people have stepped away from their jobs and resigned. Some people had major timeline shifts energetically and have felt it. Some people are going through a massive healing process in a physical way. There's a lot of ways that this is being addressed. Now, here we go with our vertical axis of power. Okay, the Three of Keys. This keeps coming up over and over, and I cannot stress enough how important it is that we see this for what it is and realize that the political conflict that this chess game represents has grown untenable, right? The back and forth, the this or that, the black and white, pick your dynamic here, and you will see that when they control both sides of the narrative, and I assure you they are, then they can control everybody's mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual responses to it as well. Because there's not just two, right? There is a spectrum, right? That is really the whole point of Gemini. This is why you don't make decisions. Gemini people tend to be seemingly two-faced, but it's really because they're like, multifaceted. A healthy Gemini person is going to be able to engage with the entire spectrum of ideas between the black side and the white side of the chess game, okay? So rooting ourselves energetically, subconsciously at staying grounded in this position of the political conflict of this or that, either or, black and white, Democrat, Republican, whatever, vax, not vax. You know what I mean? It's untenable, right? And it's time to walk away and disengage emotionally from this process. And what does it do? It creates more space. It creates space. When you walk away from the chess game and walk away from the political conflict that has been created for all of us to keep us stuck on this chessboard, then we create space for something new. The new lands. Mercury conjunct the North Node, the new lands. So this is giving us a chance to visualize and to ground down into this process. And this chess game, this Three of Keys reversed, it keeps coming out over and over and over. So this is an important thing to consider. And I've talked about it already that, really consider that if you are consuming information that has you pitted against another set of people, of your fellow humans, regardless of what it is, be very aware of that. Be very aware if you want to keep playing this game or not. So, but this reading is for those of us who are seeing this and ready to exit the game, create more space for peace. Okay. Now, when it comes to our conscious awareness, this has come out a lot too. The One of Scrolls, on track. It's time to make a decision, get on the train, and go in the direction that compels you. This is where our focus is. And it's very singular, right? One of Scrolls, that pinpoint of direction. It's not two pathways. It's not the two worlds. It's not the diversity. It is one singular focus. This has got our attention, right? This has got our attention and we're on track. And so this has not been split into two yet. And yeah, this is where we got the Roadrunner about not taking things too seriously, getting really swift, right? And having a trajectory that is very singular. And also with the War of the Roses. We'll get into this a little bit more in a minute. Just want to show here that this is where our conscious awareness is, our institutional power, right? The zenith of our self. If you look at it in terms of the chart, of the astrological chart, we get our power, we gather our power from the root, and we express our destiny and the zenith of our destiny through the crown, right? On track, get on the train and go, whatever it is, right? I mean, there's not a lot of room right now to make decisions or to not make decisions. That's what I meant to say, to kind of vacillate and be like, oh, back and forth, right? And if you're that chess game, again, if it is a back and forth on some level, it's going to be back and forth in your mind too. So singularity, One of Scrolls, on track, get on the train, here we go, right? This is where our conscious awareness, excuse me, is meant to be. Let me take a I love the magic bean juice. Okay, and so where are we looking at? What is to expect? The Two of Swords is reversed. Okay, now I never said that any of this was going to be easy. And with now this week, again, we can look at this in two ways. Number one, we can have this peace of mind that the Two of Swords represents internally, right? We have the Eon reversed of the Phoenix rising. And then we have the Two of Swords, right? We have One of Scrolls, kind of like the Ace of Swords in some ways up top. And then we have the Two of Swords, which is the peace of mind, right? That is the first dualistic aspect of that new on track type of energy, but it's reversed, right? So when you see it reversed or upright, it looks exactly the same in terms of the way that it is situated geometrically and it's balanced. But what you do see when it's reversed is that the hilt is on top and the blades are down. And so it does kind of root itself and establish itself. Wow, I just heard an eagle outside my window, like very loudly swirling around. Wow. When you have the swords, wow, that was substantial. Sorry. When they are pointed down towards the ground, they can stick in the ground, and that, if it's not much of a peace of mind. It's more of just like holding fast to your position without much movement. So when it's reversed, you can have disagreements. It's the total opposite, right? Disagreements, differences, unsolved tensions as well. I think that we're going to really struggle with finding this peace of mind, and we're going to have to find it within us. And it's going to be essential that we root into our axis of power as we go through this, and really be very aware of where our attention is going. The One of Scrolls, we have to hone in on where we are each individually going and put our attention there, because if we don't, we really do risk not actually solving anything or resolving any tension and staying in this position that is not peace of mind. And this is going to be difficult with the Phoenix rising being reversed, because there's a lot of self-deception here. There's a lot of resistance to this, because it's not easy to be burned down to the ground in order for this new aspect to come forward. But this is what we've been doing with this introversion with the Hermit, and the full moon really showed us everything we needed to let go of and to also embrace for this process, okay? And when we come into the new moon, this whole cycle coming up is really about the conditioning and cultivating of the medium and trusting it and trusting that we will be, it's not so much rewarded, but we will be given a signal. Let us know that we are on the right track. But we have to also, our conscious attention is being on the right track. We can't allow our energy to be split. And this can very easily happen with this Two of Swords reversed. Okay. So let's talk about how we can manage this, because it's going to be difficult no matter what. I do feel like that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to pull us apart consistently and continually. And we can really use Mars today in this, and I'm sure it'll be there tomorrow as well, because Mars doesn't move that quickly, in this degree of using humor, not taking things so seriously, softening your approach a little bit so that you don't stab yourself or other people. So when it comes to the chess game, we have the Queen of Scrolls. So we have lots of mental activity, especially with Mercury in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Mercury meeting the North Node in Gemini. There's a lot of mental information, ideas, communications, whatnot happening. So the Queen of Scrolls, right? She's got the Akashic records in her hand. She's very beautiful. And soft, right? She's soft. She's inviting. She's non-threatening. She's got she's got a glowing bindi, right? Her third eye is lit. She's got the scroll, and there's just this veil, right? This very thin veil that we have to be willing to move through. But it's so thin, right? It's not that much. It's not hiding anything. It's just representing that there is a veil to access the Akash, your own Akash, right? Everybody's got their record. Now, the Queen of Scrolls, when it's reversed, I mean, this does denote that there is a leaving of position of communication. There is potentially a separation from a woman, right? When we have these court cards, they do represent actual persons, either ourselves, and I feel like it will be to a certain extent ourselves that this is representing, but leaving a position involving communication or study and research. There's something that is upended when it comes to this individual and how the Queen of Scrolls is represented. And along with the unicorn, let's look at the unicorn real quick. Indulge your creative, imaginative, and magical side. So through some sort of artistic expression. Now, here's the thing. If we are looking at stepping away from the chess game, for instance, stepping away from that either or, black and white, this or that, and I assure you that both sides of these narratives are being controlled by the same people. And that way they can control it, right? Instead of allowing the multitude. Oh boy, wait till we get to the solar eclipse. That is what that is all about. The multitude of ideas, the multitude of potential directions. Wow. We'll get to that later. And there's just so much, and it's exciting and it's nerve-wracking. So this is talking about how it's important that we indulge our creative and imaginative side, because the way that we've been engaging information, who we've been taking information from, who our research and study has coming from or within us, it's not working anymore. There's something we have to step away from. And this does suggest that it's going to come through making our artistic expression much more of a priority. And with Venus in Gemini now, this really does speak very strongly of this Queen of Scrolls. She's moved into Gemini now. She's much more talkative. We value our ideas and our curiosity and our ability to explore a lot more variety in our relationships as well, and the people that we engage with. There's so much of this that we have to renegotiate for ourselves if we want to exit this political game that really is untenable. And it has to do with going into the creative and imaginative aspect. And when I talked about Vesta, asteroid Vesta, the goddess of the hearth flame, the goddess of the Vestal Virgins, she is in a position in Virgo, which is about being like an expressionist painter, being yourself, your unique self, regardless of the cultural standards that are surrounding it. This really does speak to me that we have to, on some level, engage our artistic side in order to address address this Queen of Swords that's reversed. There's something about this access to information, how we communicate needs to be more, it needs to be more imaginative. It needs to be more magical, right? It needs to be more creative. The Queen does represent the feminine, the water, right? The intuitive, magical nature. And so again, we need to indulge more of that side of us rather than continuing to be in the fight right now. I'm not saying that's forever. That's just right now, because being in the fight, as we're going to see, is really a distraction, and it actually splits our energy. This is why, again, the Orion aspect is really important, because you can engage with the spectrum of ideas with the Orion star seeds, without it becoming personal, without getting personally involved, without like being triggered by it. It's about being able to engage in debate without getting sucked in and taking it personally. So until that happens, though, what we want to do is be way more imaginative, creative, indulging this part of ourselves so that we can really get a much clearer view, because I feel like what's happening now is that there is no clear view, and we have to be much more imaginative, use the right side of our brain more so that we can exit and really exit the political situation that is untenable, and also gather our energy from this place. So that was a lot of information. Now, when we come up to the One of Scrolls, remember, staying on track. First, let's look at this. The Six of Roses, right? The War of the Roses. This is not new information. When it's reversed, again, the relationship has broken. The conflict has disrupted your life. Now it's time to exit the battlefield when it's reversed. It's already a situation that is disruptive, and there's a lot of conflict when it's upright like this. You know, two factions that had been one split off. I mean, this is pretty obvious with humanity right now. But when it's reversed, it is really signaling that there's no fixing this, right? There's no fixing the disruption, and the conflict has disrupted our lives and our ability to co-create so much that it's time to leave the battlefield. Again, the chess game. And this is about the emotional aspect of it, though. Now, when we can do that and not take things so seriously, right? Look for the humor. Be lighter in your spirit. When we are able to do these things, boy, we're going to get right on track to our own individual, unique place in this beautiful fractal that is unfolding of life, right? We know that the old guard is being destroyed, and that is creating space for the new, right? And it's very much connected to the United States. The Pluto return for the United States will be happening after January 2022, like exact. So as Pluto's retrograding away from that point, like I said, we're going back over all that territory that's, from early March 2020, comes out of its shadow at 26 to 27 degrees in January, and then we'll exactly meet that Pluto return point. And so that's something we can talk about later. And I've talked about it endlessly, but what I'm saying now is that we each have our own individual, unique role to play, and we need to get on track mentally. And if we are getting caught in the emotional aspect of the disruption and the back and forth and the fighting, Republican, Democrat, black and white, blah, 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 blah. We need to be lighter in our spirit. We need to be focused on where we're going individually so that we can get there. And either way you look at it, it's going to be a difficult transition. That's what I'm seeing here. And so there are ways that we can mitigate that for ourselves by getting into not taking things so seriously, getting lighter in our spirit, being more imaginative and creative, looking for a new way to engage information as we're about to, feel the transformation as a result of this introversion and the wisdom that we've been seeking. Because we have been seeking the wisdom, and it's coming. And I do feel like there's going to be a lot of resistance today, moving into this new moon to what we're discovering, what is part of the renewal. And we can cultivate peace of mind, but we're going to have to be very masterful about it. And part of that is going to be, having some humor, which is where Mars is right now, taking a step back from the emotional drama and realize that you may be attacked. Somebody emotionally may attack you. You may feel attacked by the damage of these conflicts. And again, it's not that we can't feel these things, but this is why the Orion starseed traits and the Orion starseeds right now are so important, because they're able to really manage this up here very well, because they don't take it seriously. You can find the humor in things as an Orion starseed, and not get pulled into the drama of the conflict, because it's not about that. So guys, thank you so much for being here. That is the transmission for today, for the Daily Medicine. And I appreciate every single one of you being here. I would love to offer you a reading or, a reading or energy work, or anything that will be supporting your process. And you can access that through the description box below. Just description box below, all the aspects of, oh God, reality here are really hard. I don't know if anybody else is having this. It's been like a week, 2 weeks almost of this, of just really, really having to ground, to stay here on 3D Earth, while simultaneously in a different reality entirely. So anyway, description box below is everything that you need. And I thank you for being here. I so appreciate it. I hope you're staying grounded. Reach out if you need support. I'll see you on the next video, which is for the new moon in Taurus, and have a great day, guys. Love you. Bye.